What we have here is an 1857 12-pound Napoleon, bronze Napoleon. 1857 is kind of the years of manufacturing stuff that Napoleon is designed. This thing shoots a 12-pound projectile, round ball or a canister load for 4 3/4 inches. Range is about 1,600 yards. My name is Ron Sandage. I'm from Victoria, Texas, down on the coast down there. I'm a member of the Sons of Confederate Veterans here in the Texas Division. I'm also a member of Texas Dixie Gray's Artillery Reenactment Company. We work with a group called Selden's Alabama Battery out of Demopolis, Alabama. The standard crew on this is usually about 7 men. The main part of them are 4 that operate the gun here. We have 2 in the back. One has a friction primer, one that does what we call the prick. You have a sponge and a worm guy up here in the front, number 1, number 2. What they do is the guy with the spike, he'll clear the vent tube in the back where the primer goes. Once he seals it, you got a number 2 guy here who uses what's called a worm, which is essentially a big corkscrew. He'll take this, because the rounds are encased in authentically in burlap sacks with 2.5 pounds of powder plus a projectile. We use aluminum foil and about 1 pound of powder. You want to make sure you get all the residue out of this thing. You run this in there, twist the screw, remove anything that's in there. You'll make sure you get any residue or any kind of burning embers out of it. Then it'll be turned over to the number 1 guy. It's called the sponge rammer. It's called a sponge. You'll take and dip a little bit of water into it, shake it off, and you'll run this in here. This does 2 things. Number 1, black powder is water soluble, so it helps cleanse the barrel. Number 2, if you have any glowing embers in here, you want to make sure those embers are out. You want to make sure the water puts the embers out, because you don't want to put another round in there. And while you're shoving that round in, it'll turn around and go off again. The commander will then call for advancement of the round. He'll bring it up to this number 2 guy, who will take and come up, and he'll just kind of lay the round inside the barrel here. The number 1 guy will take the other end of his sponge, which is kind of placed here for the round to hit. He'll take and he'll shove that all the way down into the back. Make sure it's seated. Once that's done, the commander will say, "Come to the ready." The guy with the spike will remove the thumb style and he will puncture the bag with a brass spike. The other guy with the friction primer, what friction primers are, is a little 1/4 inch tube. It's got like some ground up fine powder with some beeswax in the bottom and a wire coming out the other end that has like a fulminate of mercury in it, kind of like a match. So when you pull that, it creates a spark, sets off the powder inside that little tube, it sets off the charge inside. He sets the friction primer, he comes to the ready, has tension on the lanyard, tells the commander everything's clear, we're ready to go, aim what you want to do. The commander reports that to the battery commander, gets his orders to fire. When he does that, pulls the lanyard, and the friction primer sparks and it goes off. When you study history, once you start studying individuals, it doesn't matter where you come from or who you are or what you did. You start studying individuals and things that happened. Pick out a time period. Pick out a book about an individual or a battle or something that interests you in a time period of history and study that. That's when history becomes good. That's when it comes alive and you can relate to the individuals. That's how you study history.